Hey everyone, Josh here from Fresh Start Customs, and today we're going to be talking about the digital caliper, how to use it, material size, and the importance of kerf. This is something that will come up in any 3D digital design from any creator or any digital file seller. I wanted to stress how important this is for you to learn this, whether you're buying a digital file or you're selling a digital file. The reason why is it's super important. This is how you make it a glue-free fit. This is why you need a digital caliper, because every little inch or millimeter of an inch is going to be important here. So let's go ahead and go into depth on how to use this, and we'll go from there. And let's start off with the digital caliper here. The digital caliper is this little tool here. I'm going to get a little bit closer. All you have is the on and off, a 0 button, and then your inches to millimeter conversion button here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on. So now you can see it zeroed out there. Hopefully you can see that on camera. And then all you have to do is you just pull this wider or closer together, and then that's how thick your material is going to be. So let's go ahead and start off with the Glowforge proof grade material. This is the walnut here. It's the same as this stuff right here, but this is masked. So what I do when I start off with my files is I go ahead and use this digital caliper, set it on here to get the measurement there, and then just let it kind of loose there, and it does its own fitting. So right there, 1.37. This is pretty much almost always what their stuff is. It floats right around 1.37, 1.38, 1.36. So as long as it comes out to 1.3 and then somewhere floating around 1.37, you should be good to go. With most of my files, that's what I usually use the settings, and I adjust kerf for from there. So now that we know that's what it is with its masked, now you can go ahead and make your file based off of the material thickness. So with my kerf settings for the slots is I usually deduct the size of the slot minus 0.013. That usually works for me. Sometimes you have to slightly tighten it or slightly loosen it, and that's the reason behind that, to make it tighter or looser fit. So let's go ahead and talk about the slots first before I get into more material sizes here. So the slots, as you can see here, I have two identical cut pieces here. These two slots on the bottom are identical as well, because they are perfect fit for what I want for this clear glass acrylic. Hopefully you can see that there, get the edge, yep. So this is my tab, and that's gonna fit perfectly right in there, just like that. So that's perfect fit. You can go a little bit tighter if you want to, but the reason why I left it a little bit looser is when you double stack this, and it's gonna be a lot tighter, you may need a rubber tip hammer. This one fits just perfectly because I've already used this leg in a previous design, so it made it a little bit looser. But with that first initial pound in, it's going to be tight because I do my designs in a tight fit. I suggest that you do 2 so you don't need glue. And then if you do have to pull it back out, then it would be nicer hand fit, just like I did there. So let's go ahead and talk into why the material size is important. So that was the proof grade 1/8 inch material that they sell, or their medium material is what they say. And then like this is a 1/4 inch piece of maple with an MDF core from Menards. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure that. And as you can see, that's right about 0.201. It's usually 0.2, so it's off by 0.001. Let me see if you guys can see that if I get closer, right there. So that's what that is. The reason why this is thicker, this is the 1/4 inch, but even if this was an 1/8 inch and it was slightly thicker, that's something that you would have to compensate for, because your kerf, like you may have seen in my slot adjustment video, is kind of like a V shape, kind of like this while the laser cuts, And then the thicker your focus, the more material it usually cuts out, so that kerf can actually be a different size. That's what makes the, whenever it's in there, wiggle a little bit. You can see that wiggle slightly, and I'm being pretty forceful with this, but the bigger the kerf that you have, the more wiggle you may have. So the tighter you may want to adjust those slots this way. So that's just a heads up on that. And then the material does vary from size to size, even in the same board. So like this is their cherry stuff. That's 1.22 inches. And then here's the walnut. That's 1.27. So it does vary in size. Usually most of their proof grade materials that are all 1/8 inch like these will fit with the kerf settings that I use. It usually works within that parameter, but if it's off by a lot, there will be that slight wiggle room, so you will have to adjust that. And if you want to know how to adjust these settings, check out that other video that I just did previous to this video. I was showing you how to adjust slot sizes. Actually, I think it was 2 videos ago, but I'll put the link down in the description here. Now, one other thing that you can do, so let's say this, I keep coming back to this because this is the only tab that I have currently to show you with, but let's say this is too loose and you want it to be even tighter. All you're going to have to do is go into your program like I did in that other video, and from here to here, you're going to want to push those inwards just a little bit. Maybe just go 0.005 just to reduce it a little bit tighter, and then you test it out. So what I usually do is I'll print my piece that's going to go into the slot first, and then I'll use the slot design, and then I'll just print just the slot itself into like a full sheet of material. So let's say this is a full sheet. Let's say it's the 12 by 20 sheet of proof grade material. I'll cut this slot in that material with different sizes. So let's say this one's 0.75 inches, and then I'll print another slot right above it that's 0.74 inches, and then 0.73 inches. And then you can see by taking your little tab here that you printed off, you can see and test each one right in a row. So if it didn't fit this one, which it's still tight, it does fit, then you could come down to this one and then fit that one, and that one's a lot looser. So that's just an example of how you can do it without wasting a bunch of material and printing it off multiple times. So just a heads up on that. And then, like I said before, so this one was at, let me go ahead and turn this back on, 0.201. And then this is their thick proof grade material, and this is the 1/4 inch too, but you see how far off that is? That is at 0.186, while this material, which is 1/4 inch, is at 0.2. So that's a huge difference. That's going to be a big kerf setting change, so that's something that you would have to adjust on. So I'm just pointing this out to you guys just to give you tips and tricks that you could do. Another cool thing to not waste material is, let's say, the opposite of slots. If you want to do tabs, like I did for this glass acrylic here, you can print something off like this where you make your little slot and tab all in one like little square here just to test it out. Print these off and then see if this tab goes into this slot, and that's how you can go ahead and make tabs with kerf and testing as well. So that's kind of what I like to do. Let me see if I can put this on the background so you can kind of see that a little bit better. So that's what I like to do, so you can adjust, like you can test out like box tabs, different tabs like this that's going to go on the side of material. So for an example, this tab right here, or this slot on the edge of the box would be right here, and then this tab would go into that slot on the edge of the box. So a better example is this right here. is the outside tab that would be going into a slot. So basically you're printing off that tab. You see how that matches up just like that? That's what you'll be printing off, just so you can test it, so it will go into that slot just like that. So I hope that makes sense. I hope it shows up on camera well. Don't know how else to explain it. I'm trying to explain it as well and clearly as I can, just to help you guys out, because this is going to be your most important tool when it comes to 3D designs or editing 3D designs. You're going to want a digital caliper. I'll go ahead and put one of these down in the description below too if you don't know where to get one at. I think local hardwares like Menards has one. That's where I got this one. But I'll throw that below too. So that's pretty much it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So it was a pleasure talking with you guys again, and we'll catch you guys next time.